Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Invin and as you guys can see it is Halloween, so happy Halloween to everybody that is celebrating it. If you are, I hope you've enjoyed your evening, and as you can see I've dressed up for the occasion, spiced up the video a little bit. Today what I'm going to be talking to you guys about is actually how to utilize your great axe. Now the great axe in my opinion is one of the most damageable weapons in the game. It's got very high damage. You can spec it so that you can give a good amount of self-sustain with some heals and things like that. You've also got a lot of utility to it, and a lot of people refer to this weapon as the Swiss Army knife of your weaponry for kind of melee DPS. It works in PvE really well, but it works extremely well in PvP. So for those of you that have played Outpost Rush or in any wars, you probably will have seen a lot of great axe users, along with the Warhammer. Obviously, as you can see, that's my build. So what I'm going to do today is go over what build I actually use for the great axe, what armor and stuff I use, what kind of specs in terms of attributes, and I'm going to go over a few playstyle tips and tricks that should help you guys to utilize the great axe to the best of its ability. So moving into it firstly here, then you guys will be able to see that I actually have heavy armor on, hence why I've got the shield on my back here. I know a lot of you guys will be in the comments saying, oh, you don't need a shield if you're not using the sword. I know, but I like the aesthetic of it, particularly this red one which I just got the other day, which is Breach Closer's Round Shield of the Fighter. Very cool looking. So I use full heavy armor, and the main stats on this being strength. Obviously strength and intel, I need to swap that one out, but it has got the corruption resistance, so when I was running those corruption zones earlier that was useful for me, but generally going to want to swap that out for a strength and con. Those are the attributes that you want, so as you'll see as I go down the list, strength con, strength con, strength con, strength con on everything. Then on the axe, I go for strength, obviously, and the same on the Warhammer, which is influential to the great axe because obviously the stats do still count. And then in terms of jewelry, I'm running the 23 strength infinity crystal, which, as a spoiler, to turn away now if you've not finished the main quest, pause it for 5 seconds, mute it for 5 seconds, whatever you want. But you do get this from the Shattered Mountains main story quest in the end of the main story there, so you will all get this one by default. The perks on this are really good. Obviously, you can see them on screen there, and I would certainly recommend using this one for a bruiser melee DPS type build. I've then got a ring on, which is obviously constitution based, so plus 21 con. It's then got lucky on, so it's through the pearls that you use that to create it. This is really good in my opinion, because obviously it does help me to get better rarity of drops, so it's not the gear score that goes up from the lucky drops, but it is actually the quality of the gear, so better chance of getting purples, blues, etc., and obviously of course legendaries in terms of the drops there. So that's why I've got that one. Again, increases the slash damage, could maybe change the infected out if I was to fine tune this, but for now, really good piece, haven't found anything better. Same with the earring, again, lucky for the same reasons I mentioned before. Strength con split, so I've got a little bit of stat boost to both. And this again has got refreshing on, which is great, and focused, which for me is terrible, but again, haven't found anything better because currently right now the stats are what's important. And this is my kind of PvP spec, PvP focus type build. And again, everything else is kind of irrelevant, the tools and stuff for the build. What I will show you guys here is the attributes. So as you guys can see, I'm plus 281 strength and 135 in constitution. Now, this gives me, if I show you at the bottom of the screen there, I've got 11,123 health, which is quite tanky, especially with the self-sustain, which I'm going to show you guys in just a moment from the great axe itself. But both these weapons that I use, particularly the great axe which we're talking about today, scales solely off strength. As you guys can see, if you hover over it, it says it scales with strength, which means just as above the camera here, you guys can just see that that is 1,363 base damage with it, which is a lot of damage, particularly for a light attack from a weapon when this swings pretty quickly. Now, the reason I haven't got this up to 300 yet, obviously, is because the gear isn't maximized, but you can get war foods, which will increase this by just 20 will bring me up, but 30 or 40 points per food that's eaten. So obviously when you've got that buff active, it lasts 40 minutes or until you die. So in wars or outpost rush, eating that food brings you up to that 300 mark, which does mean that you get those grit on the light and heavy attacks, making this class very overpowered. And you can even do a 20-20 split food, so you can have some con as well, which will bring you up to the 150 points, which is less crit damage. Now, for any of you that are very end game, this next point is going to be important. For any of you that aren't, just kind of skip through this if you want to, but it's going to be void armor. Void armor is constitution based for the heavy armor, so you're going to have pretty much 200 points in con, which is going to mean everything else you're going to want to focus on strength to get it up there. It will probably mean you have this 200 constitution bonus, which is plus 20% to armor, and that's going to be really useful in all PvP situations. So if you are getting up there thinking, oh, well, I haven't got a strength con split, just go with the con one, go with the heavy, and then spec everything else with points wise into strength, and you'll still be up there with damage. It's not going to be too much of a fall off, which is really important. So then, in terms of weapon mastery, as you guys can see, obviously I am level 20, so if you are still in the process of leveling this weapon up, you will need to go through that process, but but generally, this is a build you want to aim for. Now, obviously, I'm not saying this is the world's best build. This is the build that I have fine-tuned for me to work in wars and PvP environments particularly well, but it's by all means up to you guys what you get, and there's a few reasons for that, which I will just touch on quickly before we jump into it fully as well. As you guys will be able to see on the weapon, I've got what is called Fortifying Whirlwind as a perk buff here, which means that Whirlwind grants me Fortify. Now, personally, I really don't like using Whirlwind, and this is the legendary Great Axe of the Epic Quest, if you like. So I've got this for the stats and stuff, but I don't use Whirlwind, so technically I am wasting that perk, but if you want to use Whirlwind, it's very good. And when you craft these late game Great Axes, you will be able to get the perks that you want on the weapons, which is going to be really, really important. Like you guys will see if I just quickly show you the Warhammer. I've got Sundering Shockwave, which applies rend to a target, reducing their damage absorption by 16% for 10 seconds, which is amazing in wars and Outpost Rush alike. It's very, very good. Now, back onto the Great Axe then. Let's look back into the skill tree here. You can see that I'm using the abilities Reap, Charge, and Gravity Well. Now, these are all really, really good abilities in my opinion. The Charge is simply for utility and for increasing DPS. So with that, all I use it for is to move around the map, reposition myself, or when you hit 2 light attacks with the Great Axe, if you then follow it up with an R, which is my charge attack, you can charge into them. That counts as another attack, and it resets your cooldown on your auto attacks. So you can just do 2 more light attacks, essentially giving you a 5-hit chain, which is a huge amount of DPS. Like you guys saw, that 1600 mark before. It's going to be around 5,000-6,000 minimum DPS on a player, which is often enough to kill them or get them very low, meaning that you can pull in with Reap or something and finish that kill very, very nicely. Obviously, Reap, you guys know, it's the one where you throw the axe out, pull enemies in, and deal damage to them. I've upgraded this so that it's a longer range. You then heal yourself by 30% of the damage done, and finally, you do a spin attack, dealing 115% weapon damage at the end of the chain, which is adding kind of another layer to that DPS style with this build as well. And then to finalize it here, we go with Gravity Well. This is mainly for CC. It does do a bit of damage as well, but the CC on it is what is the main thing that makes it very, very good. It increases damage by 10% for each person caught in with the first upgrade, which is nice again for all PvP where they're clumped up on the point. You get a huge damage burst there, 2-3k damage per burst, which is great. And of course, you get Unyielding here, which grants allies Fortify. So again, allies that are in that or yourself when you're in it, you gain a little bit of damage reduction there, which is really, really good. Personally, in terms of the perks then, the kind of passive perks, I go for Crowded Protection, which is when holding a Great Axe, you gain 10% damage absorption when 3 or more foes are within 4 meters. Again, PvP situations or PvE situations, you're always going to have a lot of enemies around you. Really, really good. Only time that's pretty bad is 1v1s and 2v2s. Generally don't happen that much in this game, so you're going to be safe with that perk. I then like to go as well on the Mauler side, Enduring Strike, which is adding grit to heavy attacks, which is really, really nice, and grants a 20% damage reduction while the heavy attack grit is active, which is really, really powerful in a lot of situations. And of course, Heavy Pull there, which is heavy attacks with the Great Axe, pull foes closer towards you, which means you're pulling those enemies in, they can't escape you as easily, and it's a really, really good catch-up mechanic for when you are able to then hit them and drag them into you, stop them running away, particularly those pesky light armor wearers. For all of you guys that are going to complain about range guys, if you actually catch them with the charge and then keep heavy attacking, pulling them in, again with Gravity Well and Reap, you're on to a winner. Passives then, on the Reaper side, we go with Greed, which is light attacks with your Great Axe give you 5% damage for 5 seconds, and you can get 3 stacks of this, which means you're getting plus 15% damage, which is really, really nice. We then got Death's Embrace, which is Great Axe attacks against foes below 50% health, penetrate armor by 10%. Really, really good for finishing kills and getting some of those, particularly in wars when your mages are doing a lot of DPS, a lot of AoE. You can go in there, finish up kills very, very quickly, so that's really good. You've then gone for Critical Gains, which when you make a critical hit with the Great Axe, you heal yourself for 10% of the damage done. This stacks with some of the others, so keep that in mind. Then we've got Frustration, which is after one of your attacks is blocked, you gain 15% damage for 10 seconds, which is the maximum of 1 stack. But again, going with those light attacks from before, when you're damaging people, you're getting a lot of damage stacks here, so it's really, really good. You've then got Keen Edge, which increases critical damage done by 10%. You've got Critical Condition, which is Great Axe attacks against foes below 30% health, crit 15% more often. So again, stacked with that healing one is really, really good. And then, of course, right here, you've got Feed, which is Great Axe attacks against foes below 30% health, heal you for 10% of the damage done. So just any attack below 30% health heals you for health, which is really, really nice. Again, if you're 1v1ing someone, they get low, you get low, but you've got this perk on, you're going to be able to go all the way back up. And I've just realized that Great Axe attacks is quite a mouthful mouthful, quite a little tongue twister, so apologies on the pronunciation there. Then we move on to Bloodlust, which is my final perk here. It's the epic perk, or the legendary perk, whatever you want to call it, the ultimate. This one is move 30% faster and deal 15% more damage when looking at a foe within 15 meters. This is insanely good. Obviously increases your overall damage output, means you can catch people up a lot quicker, and of course it means you can kind of move around the map a lot quicker towards people. You can use it to lock onto mobs as well when you're running through the world, so it's generally a very nice one to have on there. Now with this, in terms of utilizing your DPS, utilizing the abilities, what you can actually do, like I mentioned there, you can chain the attacks, so you can do light attack, and if a target's right next to you, so let me do it on the statue, light attack, charge, and it would go into it, it'd hit instantly, and then that resets your cooldown for your light attacks. So you can do 5 attacks instantly. Again, you can do light attack, Q, pull them in, do the spin, and then again you've got the reset, so you can do almost 6 attacks there. And of course gravity well will just give you that protection. You've got the fortify, as you guys can see at the bottom of the screen, for the duration of that. It drags enemies into the middle, and obviously you can either escape then, or you can do a lot of damage to them while they're in the middle there. All of these combined makes this a very high DPS weapon, whilst giving yourself a lot of damage mitigation, a lot of healing opportunity with it as well, which is really nice, and it gives you a lot of sustain in the wars and PvE, so that when you are playing with any other role, the healers are going to be thankful, because you're going to be able to heal yourself a lot as well. A lot of the abilities like Gravity Wells, for example, if someone's chasing you, you can throw it down behind you, like right there, charge away, go, and instantly pop a pot. You've got plenty of time to do that. You can do that easily while they're still chasing, they're stuck, and that is a really good advantage of this weapon as well, because you're able to gain a lot of distance, or indeed catch people up with those abilities as well, keep them stun locked, and attack them so that they don't get away from you in any situation as well, again, be it PvP or PvE, but obviously in PvP this is more useful. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video and the breakdown of the Great Axe, how I use it and how I utilize it for the most damage possible. If you have, please do be sure to leave a like on today's video down below. If you are new to the channel, please do make sure you drop a subscribe down below as well, as that really does help me out. And make sure you got the notification bell on so that you don't miss out on any content, as I do upload daily. So I've got tons and tons of tips and tricks, useful nifty little things you can do in the game, utilizations, specialities, all that kind of stuff, so make sure you stay tuned for that. If there's anything else that you know about the Great Axe that I haven't included in today's video, drop it in the comments below. I'd love to see some comments from you guys, how you utilize it, what abilities you use, what your builds are like, all that kind of good stuff. Other than that, guys, as always, happy Halloween if you do celebrate it. Thanks for tuning in today, and as always, take care and peace.